Another thing that I wanted to pick your brain about. This is something that I feel like there's been quite a few people in here where we've gone this route with conversation, but I'm always just enamored with how people's relationship to their parents' relationship to art works into their life. So, for me, neither of my parents are musicians or art. I mean, I would say that they both certainly have artistic fascinations in life and things that they really enjoy, but they're not. That's not how they ever made a living. And for you, that was very much the opposite. You have very artsy parents and people who were in that world. What was that like for you growing up? Like, how did you get to that point where you thought, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. I want to be a banker, or I want to be a politician, or like whatever.
Let me get one more cough up before I answer that. I'm just getting over this sickness.
Yeah, there was something going around Nash the last couple
weeks. Yeah, it's been bad.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was sick for like a week, and then I got it.
This is a long awaited appearance because we had to reschedule a couple of times. Sadly. So we're just so happy that you're. That's how we should have opened the pod.
We were sick, and then you were sick,
and then and I'm barely not sick. So anyway,
but you're here, damn it.
Yeah.
You're here. Yeah.
Finally made it happen.
But I'd say, with my experience, I think probably the first thing I would say that's different from, like I said earlier, is like my rebellion, me and my brother, us being rebellious teenagers, was like my brother being like, I'm going to be an accountant. My dad be like, no, never, my son, and it's like, which is definitely different than most people's, I don't know. But I think that it's good. There's good and bad. So it's I think in my experience, I grew up with wacky, hippie artist parents. So and in Jersey, because most of their friends they were in the city. They had a loft in the city, but they just moved to Jersey because my mom's family has had a house there, and they moved back with my aunt when we were little because it was just too expensive to be in the city. And so most of our friends though were in the city, so we had a lot of wacky friends versus everyone I went to school with were Jersey, very. That area is very Italian Jersey, lots of J.Lo's sweatsuits, and I had all this stuff. I had the tight jeans and to fit in. So it was definitely that was odd to have the weird artsy parents. But I think the good side of it was I got to grow up going to theater. When I was sick, I would go to my mom's comedy class. I would make sure I was sick on Thursdays because my mom teaches comedy at this university, and I would always get to go and watch the stand-up and watch college kids do improv comedy. And I grew up, hanging out and backstage at theaters and Law and Order sets or Sopranos, and that was cool because it was just that was normal for me, and I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Or also just being always accepted, where I am now as an artist is my parents are oh, you're totally, there's no question of me. I'm kind of no, I want a job. They're no, keep being an artist. I'm no, I kind of want to get a job, and so I think that's
so funny because that's just the complete opposite of my life experience so far.
So there's a lot of pluses to that, I think, and it's nice because my parents are really inspiring for me. They've pushed, my dad really pushed me and my brother. He had this whole vision of how to raise us, and he was he taught me to do art by when we were little, and we'd have hooky days where he would take me and my brother out of school and we'd go to museums or art galleries in the city.
That's another thing that I wanted to ask. I wanted to know because again, this is something that just wasn't a part of my life. There was always, again, my parents really appreciate art, but it just wasn't something, it wasn't their world, I always had good music in the house and that kind of thing, but it just wasn't their thing. When you are raised by people where that is their life, what sort of indoctrination, for lack of a better word, is being put on you? Is it this idea of just here's all of this stuff that I love, find the thing that you love, or was it more structured, or was it just more how did they go about that? I'm just so fascinated with that.
I think they were very into giving us the space, but also the tools. Because my dad's family were from they were upstate New York, because French Canadian, and they were very old school, very Catholic, very country not bumpkin, but just very sheltered. And so he really rebelled against that and was a hippie and went to New York and that. And so my mom, they were more immigrants, so because they came from Ireland, but they were artistic line. Her father was a photographer, but he ended up being a mechanic. Her mother wanted to be in that world, but it was like there were still kind of remnants of a more strict Catholic thing. So I think for them, because of that, they really wanted to allow us to find what we wanted. And like my dad, he grew up, like he gave us a lot of philosophy stuff to read when we were little, because he grew up in that world. He's a Sufi. He's not Catholic anymore, but he was like, I don't care what religion you are, but I want you to have a faith of some sort. He's like, it's important to have faith, whether it's like, you know, I believe in this, you know, cheese, like whatever. Yeah. You just believe in something. So he like let us found that, but he also gave us different books to read and like philosophies. And same with art. Like I remember like he had a lot of like classical music he would play. Like I remember like running around with my stuffed animals and he'd like blast Aaron Copland, and like we would like, just because he wanted to show us that. And same with the art class, and like he wanted to expose us to as much art as we could at young age. And like same with like theater, and like I've seen a lot of great movies in theater like at a pretty young age, because my parents were kind of like, I mean, you know, I don't want you to watch crappy movies. Yeah,
exactly.
So like we're next to expose you to good stuff, you know? And
like,
so
I don't care that you're not going to get vertigo. You're going to watch vertigo.
Yeah. And so that was kind of cool. Like, so that's what they gave us tools in that way, you know, like they and that was really nice to have, I think. And they also just like it inspired us to think critically about our art and what we're thinking about, and to make sure to read and have thought and purpose. And they also were very into not like, in a good way, not helping us. Like my mom was like, I'm not going to like help you get gigs. Like you need to get your own gigs. You need to figure out if you wanted an artist career, because they know how hard it is. They were really into like, okay, well then go work. Like go, because there are things she teaches too. And she's always like, if you really want to be an artist full time, you have to be very good. Because it was like, if you're not like, because it's like, it's brutal. And if you're not very good, you're not gonna make enough money. So be realistic about how hard you have to work. Like be realistic. You have to practice that much. Be realistic. And that's how I think was one of the reasons I think I've been so careful about steps, because I'm just kind of like, I don't, you know, I want to be realistic, you know, like, and not just be like, I'm going to be a star, you know, because it's like, that's unrealistic, you know? So, but I am, it's like, maybe I will be a working jazz musician for a couple of years. Like, that's a realistic goal, you know?
If you like that clip, click on another one, and then just keep doing that endlessly forever. Just, it never stops, ever. Subscribe to our channels too.